All right, folks, I'm going to be giving you the lay of the land on wealth building here. The 4 phases of wealth building. And I think it's important to recognize which one of these where you're at and apply the right strategy for where you're at, but also know what's coming ahead. So if you guys haven't checked out the channel, I come on this YouTube channel once a week and I kind of answer your guys' questions and as best as possible and kind of give you insights of things I've learned from other wealthy people that I've come across. But here we go. Hey folks, all right, today we're going to be talking about the 4 stages of wealth building. Now, a lot of you guys kind of look at, real estate investments, large apartment deals, these huge private equity kinds of deals, and you might get a little intimidated. I was too, and not too long ago. And then I kind of found the right people, and I kind of realized that, this stuff is very accessible, these country club deals. However, you need to go through the first stages of wealth, and I'm going to be going through what those stages of wealth are in this video. To outline them out real quickly, we've got 4 stages. The first stage is kind of first getting unbroke, as we say. And, these are the masses kind of fall in this type of category. Most people are in credit card debt, they're in debt, they just don't make too much money. And I don't know how to get out of this space, to be honest. I mean, if you guys know my story, I kind of followed this linear path. I go to school, study hard, get a good job. I eventually became an engineer and made close to 6 figures starting out and just was really good at saving my money. I just kind of grew up in a family where we were taught not to just blow your money and, call me crazy, but not buy things that you just can't afford or you shouldn't own. So, but, most people in this world kind of fall in this category of, they don't make enough money. They maybe make $50,000, $60,000 or less. And it's also compound with the fact that they just are not able to manage their freaking budget, right? So moving on, right? That's kind of that first level of wealth building is get yourself up to financial stability, get yourself out of consumer debt. And I say that because there are a lot of you folks out there that have a lot of, college debt, student loans, and you make good salaries. And I wouldn't per se put you into that first category. I'd probably put you into this next category of, all right, you've got a job, right? You're making professional salary. You're making over $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year. And now you're kind of to this point where, you're able to save and accumulate money on a monthly basis. And maybe you can save maybe $5,000 in a year or $30,000 or $50,000 plus per year, right? You're in this next category. And this is where I kind of layer in like the numbers in terms of net worth. Your net worth is somewhere between, maybe you're still in debt because you have student loans, but you're somewhere less than $100,000, definitely less than $250,000 net worth in that range. In this place, in my opinion, you're not an accredited investor. You might be an accredited investor via income, but you're kind of just starting out, right? And some of the acronyms in this world that was used is Henry. If you Google that, it stands for something like high income, not wealthy quite yet, basically. So, when you're in this kind of the second stage of wealth building, you're working your job, you're saving it, but it's important to put the money into the right things. Wealth building at the end of the day, especially when you do it the way we do, where you're not taking these moonshots to the moon with cryptocurrencies or going into really aggressive deals, it's going to take some time. It's stable though, and that's one of the good things, and that's why a lot of people kind of, instead of there's all this stuff on the internet making money, that's why it kind of falls back to the simple passive cash flow way. But it's going to take a while, and it's really a game of inches. You cannot be spending your time or your money or energy focusing on the wrong thing. And in terms of investing, putting your money into marketable securities, the financial planner, bunch of crap, that type of stuff where a good chunk of your money, maybe majority of your money is being taken away in top of the line hidden fees. And that is what the backbone of Wall Street is. And it's something I talk about a lot. We're not going to get into that today. But it's important to divert as much of that money And maybe you're putting a lot of this into your 401ks, Roth IRAs, or equities accounts or your Robinhood accounts, whatever, and diverting that into cold hard assets that produce cash flow on a monthly basis, so you can be the beneficiary of the appreciation, the tax benefits, the cash flow from the investment, but also the tenant paying down the mortgage for you. And that's a big difference between you owning your own house and your tenant paying down the mortgage, living in your house for you. We talk a lot about in other videos why you shouldn't buy your house, especially when you're in this kind of second stage of wealth building. But this is the hardest part. In 2007, I graduated from college, started working, started saving my money, started to buy real estate, but it really wasn't until I would say 2012 to 2015. 2015, I had maybe about 11 rentals at that point that I felt like I was kind of getting out of this kind of second stage of wealth building and kind of starting to move into the accredited investor realm, into this third stage that I'm going to talk about now. So this third stage of wealth building, you've kind of have some experience investing. Maybe you don't, but you just wake up one day and you're kind of at $1 million net worth because maybe you've done it the bad way, the way that they all told you to do it, maxing out your 401ks, maxing out your Roths up to this point. And you have some wiggle room and you hear that real estate's a great way to save money on taxes and get some cash flow. And you start to come into this world of alternative investments. Very common, right? Most of the people listening to this channel, they're typically younger, mostly folks that are below the age of 35. And you guys get it. You guys understand this stuff. You don't have a lot of bad habits. But a lot of people in our group, they might be over the age of 40, 45, even up to 60 years old, where they did it the wrong way this whole time. But they wake up and they're just, part of it is just they're prudent savers. I call it the white-knuckle method, where they just save their money. They're just really diligent with their money. Unfortunately, they're kind of driving around with the handbrake on in a way, and they're just not investing and growing their money in the right place. But nevertheless, they wake up when they're 40, 50 years old, and because they did it all the way that they were supposed to have done it, they have about $1 million, $2 million of net worth. But that's not that much money. And that's where kind of we get into that next stage of wealth building, which I'll talk about later. But to wrap up this kind of third stage, this is where you start to get into more passive investments. There's a lot of people on a lot of these free internet sites where they're talking about BRRRR strategy, and we've got another video where you buy, rent, rehab, repeat. Super active, it's total pain in the ass. It's for young kids that really don't value time as much as money. But don't get me wrong, if you guys are listening to this and you guys are in those first two stages, your time isn't very valuable. You need money, and you have to do a bunch of nonsense things to save money and to make money. If you want a list of these things, go to my website, SimplePassiveCashflow.com/cheapo. Look at all the ways I used to save money back in the day. But after a certain point, when you go from the second to third stage, especially when you become more of an accredited investor in terms of income or your net worth, time is more valuable than money. You shouldn't be parking somewhere to go Uber to save a bunch of money. You just Uber the whole way. Stop screwing around. Stop trying to save $1 here or there. Spend your time on really what makes you the most money, and that might be your job that you may or may not like. But you know what? Suck it up, right? That's where you're getting your highest multiple for trading time for money. Doctors, lawyers, engineers, accountants, professionals, business operators, dentists, right? You are the folks that should be spending your time at your job instead of screwing around with a little short-term rental or a little rehab on a rental property after you get to this third stage of wealth building, which is, let's just call it $500,000, $1 million net worth in that realm. And if you kind of notice, I'm using very wide ranges. Every situation is different, and that's what's hard in this format when I do my YouTube channel here. And we also have the podcast too. But to kind of generalize is something that's hard in this is really personal finance, and it is very personalized to you out there. You might have a certain situation, and that's where we kind of urge people to join the club and kind of book an onboarding call with myself or the team, so we can really very quickly analyze your situation and kind of point you in the right direction. But this is where, again, finishing up on this third level of wealth building, you kind of get your net worth over $1 million, investing in good deals. And then the fourth level of wealth building, and I call this EndGame a lot. And if you just want a rough number, for most people, EndGame is about $3 to $5 million net worth. And the reason why is because at that point, you can take $3 to $5 million and put it into the Wall Street crap or marketable securities, or we kind of suggest insurance, life insurance products, IULs, infinite banking, and you can make a very safe and conservative 5% return in that type of stuff. So if you do the math at home, $3 to $5 million at 5% or so, that's enough to pass it down to your heirs and them to kind of squander it as much as they would like. But this is the goal of this fourth stage. The fourth stage is not really growing your money, but to pass down the wealth and teach your kids, or more importantly, it's your grandkids are the ones that are probably going to be going astray, to influence the next generation. Now, maybe in the future, we'll kind of talk about going down the road of, family planning, wealth building with kids, that type of stuff. But this is the emphasis on this fourth level, or when you get to $3 to $5 million. From what I see from our mastermind group or family office group of high net worth investors, getting to from $1 to $4 or $5 million net worth isn't that tough when you start to implement the strategies that we talk about on this channel and on the podcast and within our group. Invest in good deals at Cashflow just in case there's a recession, with the right people that are honest. Secondly, do a little bit of tax planning, and especially for the high income earners, maybe implementing real estate professional status. Thirdly, layer in there some infinite banking to kind of churn the money and kind of take that the liability off of the table from litigators. And then, if you kind of just stay this course for, 3 to 10 years for most of these people, and that you can ascend to about $3 to $5 million net worth. And at that point, you've hit endgame. Or if you kind of think about it in terms of, firing a rocket off into space, a lot of energy going from the first stage, second stage, third stage, where the rocket takes up off of the ground, tries and fights gravity, but it gets up to the atmosphere and gets to a point where it goes weightless, zero gravity, or what we call financial independence, where your money is growing harder and faster than you can actually spend it, which might be just a theory for you right now, but it's just a matter of time, really, that your net worth grows to this $3 to $5 million net worth point, where it just kind of grows and grows and grows, and now you're thinking differently. This is kind of where I kind of am trying to join different groups, meet other people that are always in the next category on. Who knows? There's probably another fifth or sixth layer to this that I'm not talking about in this video, and that's kind of what I'm learning every day, and that's what I kind of emphasize, that always be learning. There's always somebody on the next level past you, and there are things that you don't see on the horizon that become so much more apparent once you actually get there. But I think from a high level, you have to enjoy the journey, because you're always kind of going for that next level. You're always trying to add another comment to your net worth. You're always trying to grow, and you just have to enjoy this, but also appreciate the fact that if you kind of are starting on this path and you get to even the second level, it's just a matter of time to ascend to the third or the fourth level. Some things that I can offer insight now that I kind of know currently, most people that get to $4 to $5 million net worth, most people are fine at that point. I mean, you're talking about the 0.001% of the people that can actually not only quit their job, but live a very lavish lifestyle and pretty much spend regenerating money again and again and again. But there's some people, and I've seen a bunch of them, where they kind of get bored of this. And this is kind of why I created this channel. I started very early on investing, and I realized I would get to FI very quickly. And I started to realize that it was kind of a boring existence just to kind of eat whatever I ate, travel wherever I wanted, take a bunch of Instagram. I don't do much social media. I think a lot of that is very silly. But, there might be some way that you can kind of give back or send the elevator down for others. And that was what this podcast and YouTube channel for me was all about, to kind of empower you, the person at home, and to kind of fight the wrong out there in the world, which is, to me, there's just a lot of bad financial advice put out there by financial planners and the Wall Street world to put your money into the system and be good little boys and girls, and you will get a retirement in 40 or 50 years, maybe. I'm here telling you that there is a different way to doing these things, and a lot of people are doing this stuff. You just have to kind of step off the beaten path. But another video for another day. This was just kind of a glimpse of like the big picture and how this all ties together. One mistake I see a lot are, people who are in credit card debt or stage 1 or maybe halfway between stage 2. They skip ahead to the stuff that's coming up ahead. I think what you have to do is recognize where you're at. And again, that's where you kind of, join our email list, get more of the deeper teachings, do some of our e-courses to where you're at specifically, and just understand that you have to go through each stage. Some people, it may make sense to buy rental properties, especially if your net worth is lower, and they say, well, I want to buy apartments. They're just bigger. They make more sense. And you're totally right. But based on where your net worth is, your income level is, you have to just buy little pain in the butt rental properties. And we have e-courses for that to kind of cut down on the learning curve for that. But it's just kind of like adolescence, right? Adolescence sucks, but we all have to kind of go through that phase. And that's the same thing with wealth building. You have to go through those phases of life to get to the promised land. And when you do get to the promised land, stage 4, 5, 6, whatever it may be, net worth over 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, $50 million, it'll kind of make life a little sweeter, right? Because you went through the process. Nothing is worse than, I think, having a bunch of money and not knowing what it took to get there. I mean, personally today, I wake up, I have my coffee, I kind of wake up whenever I want in the late morning time. But I can remember a time where when I was managing my construction crews, having to drive 30 minutes, wake up in the hotel at 5:30 in the morning, drive 30 minutes to get to the job briefing 30 minutes early because I'm the supervisor and I need to be there early for some strange reason. Giving a job briefing at 6:30 in the morning to a bunch of old grumpy men and nobody listening to me, giving me all these problems. And now there's not a day that goes by that I don't remember that, how much suck that was and how much sweeter the coffee this morning tasted. But anyway, if you guys like these videos and you have other questions, anything I can do to help out, drop a comment below, give us a like, and share this with your friends.